listening, Rory? Give us a bit of a taste.
Well, yeah, the clue's really in the name, isn't it? It's active listening. I think from my experience when I used to teach counselling, when students first start, maybe on a level 2 course, they think that active listening or listening is just listening and not actually responding. And part of the art of developing that little toolkit of counselling skills is, as Marcus Aurelius famously said, I'm not even sure it was Marcus Aurelius, but we have one mouth and two ears so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. And I think it's a good maxim, because active listening is about not only listening, it's also about responding and making sure that the person who's speaking to you feels heard.
100%, and dips very much into empathy. And how do we do this? We do this in terms of our body language, how we sit when we're listening to our client. Are we open? In other words, arms uncrossed from our body, or are we closed in? Are we maintaining eye contact with them if it is appropriate? Keeping in mind that some clients may not want to make eye contact. They may be looking away all the time. And I think for me, active listening is about listening to the entire person in front of you, both verbal and non-verbal communication. So I mentioned there just in passing that the client may choose not to make eye contact. Well, we would be listening to that. We would be perceiving that at some level, and it would be giving us a clear picture of who this person is in front of us.
Yeah, absolutely, Ken. And you make a very good point with eye contact. It's a very European, westernized idea. In some cultures, eye contact is seen as really disrespectful.
Yeah.
As he's wearing sunglasses. There was an army recruiting advert many years ago, where the soldier meeting someone from Africa, and the African person was getting really kind of, upset and agitated, and the guy took his glasses off and everything was all right in the world again because he could see him. So we have to be very thoughtful about culture. Not everybody does the John Wayne thing and look me in the eye. It's a very Western idea. But yeah, paying attention to everybody, paying attention to the person who's speaking, and also responding in a way that's respectful. So that's about paraphrasing and reflecting emotion back. And just a word on paraphrasing, it's paraphrasing, not parrot phrasing.
Yes, I like that very much. So I guess closer to parrot phrasing would be a reflection, where you're taking the client's exact words and putting them back. But hey, we're into semantics here. So back onto that active listening. It is something that you actively do. You're not just passively letting the words of the person in front of you wash over you. You are there. You are present. You are there in a therapeutic role. And every single word they speak is important. How they say it. What is the tone of their voice? Is their voice trembling? Are they quiet when they speak? And you are there to actively receive that whole individual, every little bit of them, all the nuance. And for that, you need to really be paying very close attention to what they're saying, and not just paying attention to the narrative. In other words, the story they're bringing, looking for the meaning. I think Roger speaks about the music underneath the words.
He does, and that's a really good way of putting it, Ken. Yeah, it is about responding in your own words, which is what I meant by paraphrasing, not actually repeating back verbatim what the person said or the speaker said. But yeah, it's about responding in a way that takes into account the emotion that's used in what the speaker said to you. And I think that's really important, saying something like, it feels like you're sad about this situation, not just saying, well, you're not happy with the situation, really picking up on the non-verbal communication or the theme of what's being said. So important. And if you do that, people will really feel heard. And that's what it's about. It's not just listening. It's about someone feeling that they're being heard.
I love that. And that is the reason of active listening, is so that person feels heard. And then when you look into active listening, that you'll probably see the words minimal encouragers. And this is where we're encouraged to kind of be there and show that we are actively listening by making murmuring noises, I guess, like, and maybe the way that we present our body, maybe if they say something that is light, and not heavy material, something light. They might say, oh, I was really happy I saw my son today. You might smile for them and you might open your eyes slightly. And I guess it's, as Roger says, it's less something you do. It's a way of being. If you are really engaged, if you are really actively listening, then these are natural tendencies that will come out. And I think the minimal encourages the yes, oh right. They're mentioned, but not to be overused, because they can come across, in my view, and this is just me, this is not in any textbook, they can come across as forced, specifically when you're doing recorded sessions and you've been told you need to put the old minimal encourages in. You're like,
Yeah, and I think that's really true. Yeah, it's about activity. It's also, I think, about how you sit, making sure that you've got an open body posture, that you're sat at a respectful distance between you and the person that you're kind of doing the skills work with. So always check that out. If I sit in front of a client, even now, I say, is this space okay for you? You know, just to check out, you know, because nobody wants someone literally sitting on the knee or so far away they need a telescope to see them. So it's a whole thing. The active listening is not just what you do, but it's how you place yourself in front of the person who's speaking.
Yeah, a little exercise just to end on active listening that you can try, and you can do this with your simulated skill sessions, or if you're in placement, you can try this out. And it's really good practice for as you move towards your final assignment to become a counselor, where you might need to write a case study, and a good case study will generally open with a pen portrait of who that person is. And active listening enables you to see who that person is. How do they present? What is their body posture? Are they hunched up? Are they anxiously playing with their hands? Are they touching their face a lot? Who is that person? And to you, how do you perceive them? Because you're actively listening, not just with your ears, with all of your senses to the person in front of you. So the exercise is, next time you've done a simulated skills session, or if you've done a placement session, write a pen portrait of who that person is, how you perceive them, and look over that, because that is your active listening skills in action.
Yeah, and like with any skill, you have to practice it.
I like it. Yes, of course you do. Practice, practice, practice. And eventually it becomes, what is it? Unconscious competence. Rory, you tell a story of like learning to drive a car, and you start off and you've got to think when you change the gear and when to push the accelerator and when to push the clutch, and you are consciously incompetent at driving a car. You know you're incompetent. And eventually you drive your car, you get out and you think, oh, I've just driven all that way. I don't remember changing the gear or pushing in the accelerator or the brake or putting the handbrake on or indicating, because those things become unconscious. It is unconscious competence. The same is true with any counseling skills. The more you practice them, the better you become at them.